What's popular, YouTube? Welcome back. Another day, another demo. Today, it's going to be Mezii. He's the man who just got signed to Cloud9, announced now by Henry G. Contract, transfer fee, salary, everything. Full transparency. Shout out to Henry G for announcing this again. I can see this influencing desk conversations at tournaments, private conversations between friends, analysis for videos like this. I think it makes the game way more interesting. And so the details of this, of course, is another 3-year contract, just like Alex. Alex received a 3-year contract, you know, to the tune of a multi-million-dollar deal where it's closer to a $30K a month salary. Mezii's deal, this works out to about a $10K salary. And that's because he's a player that we don't know a whole lot about. Link to this will be in the description. Here is the press release where Henry G goes into a bit more of the personal details of why he picked Mezii, and cites things like an encyclopedic knowledge of utility usage, and we'll find out in a second here, has previously kind of talked to or known or played with Alex, and I think that relationship has influenced the decision to pick him up. I'll link to this as well. There's a conversation between Ryan and Mezii, Ryan from Rush B Media, where he just tries to, I guess, get a better understanding of who he is. Because when we look at Mezii as a player, you know, there have been other players who you could see it coming, them joining a pro team, Rops to Mouse, Zywoo to Vitality, right? Literally, the only question was, did they cheat? That's how good they were, right? The FPL results, the results outside of the tier 1, but just like these very, very promising ratings and stuff. Well, Mezii doesn't have much of that. Like he just hasn't played all that much CS in general. Is very, very fresh in that regard, but has shown that he is at least good at his tier. He's still an FPLC, which is a big question mark. And so for a lot of people, this is like, well, what separates Mezii from the rest? Who is this guy, and why haven't I heard of him yet? And that's what we're going to take a look at in this demo. But before we get into that, you know, here's a 21-year-old CS player from the UK, and who is he? Like, what is the appeal here from the personality side, or just the kind of like in humanizing him by learning more about his personality? What do we learn about him that would allude to the fact that he might be a good CS player, a good teammate to have, or someone with a lot of promise? Well, I actually found quite a few things, honestly, while reading this. A couple things that were interesting were that, you know, I see that he's got a very kind of mature attitude towards maintaining a strict routine and regimen, to making sure that he's consistent. Here he says, I have my own set routine that I try to keep each day. It's one thing I say to everyone if asking me if I have a routine or how they're trying to stay consistent. I always say a consistent lifestyle or consistent settings or consistent whatever is going to keep your performance consistent as well. And he talks about how his team will, you know, change res, change sense, and stuff like that, talk about other people's settings. Well, he tries to keep everything the same, which shows a fair bit of maturity for someone of that's his age. He also is apparently studying accounting and finance at uni, which I don't know if he's dropped out of or taking a hiatus for, to play on Cloud9, where he's now playing full time. But this is kind of a cool thing, you know, that he's doing, that might say, okay, he's got his head on straight for sure. And then he talks a bit about UK CS and how, you know, people look at stats but haven't actually accomplished anything. There are some egos in the UK. That's right here. And so I think a big thing with the UK, it's kind of like America. Like, I think there's some correlation there between like the individualism of each place and the culture of each place that has made it difficult for both regions to put together teams. Like, now in America, we have very competent teams, but it took a long time. Like, I mean, Shagwire was quoted as saying that he didn't think that the U.S. would ever win a major in Counter-Strike. And I mean, we've only won one. We know that took like absolute peak performance to get the one. The UK is not really close, and it is a much smaller pool of players. But I think there's something interesting there about the cultures of NA and the culture of UK, where there's some similarities that have made it difficult for them to create teams and aim for that kind of gestalt, like a sum of players that is greater than the whole, if you will. And so he talks a bit about his relationship with Alex here, and then, you know, his background playing a little bit of footy, and I think that was pretty much it. There was something else that might have been cool, but this conversation is jam-packed with a lot of detail, so I'll go ahead and link that and waste no more time here. So, oh yeah, there's actually one more thing. So he said, I think I'm quite reserved, which I thought was interesting as well, to contrast with some of the bigger personalities, maybe to come out of the UK. And he says he'll look back on the events that he's played and see that he doesn't really react much to winning big clutches and stuff, which instantly just like reminds me of Rops and how, you know, when I've talked to him, he said he doesn't tilt at all, and he says like he never really rages, and he needs to stay calm to stay focused and be good. And I think for a successful roster, you've got to have a combination of players who get excited, who keep the energy high, but then a couple of players who aren't just also talking as much and keeping the energy too high to the point that you're like on this roller coaster that you can't get off. And so also as a new player on the team, like Henry talked about not handing him a development contract, and because he feels like some of those are kind of fraudulent, and just having him on the team as a player with a 3-year deal to develop with the roster, but not necessarily in just like a development capacity. Like he's going to be someone that he's going to be dedicated. He has to learn. He has to take a backseat to some of the other players. But at the same time, he has to be somebody to take control of games. He can't be put in the back and then stay in the back. He has to both be learning constantly from players like Alex and some of the other experienced names that are probably going to be announced, and also be put in positions, be put in high kill positions on CT side, and to see how he can fare. You know, he can't be the young player on the team with little experience who was probably picked up because of his promise and then put in a total support player position where he has to play bad spots and he'll continually have low confidence. Like, he has to be given a certain amount of responsibility. He's joining a great big organization with huge goals, and there's tons of pressure on him, but he's got to step up to the challenge. And I think it's going to be important to make sure that you put him in positions to see if he can shine, and to give him time to try to get to that point. Otherwise, why place a bet on a player like this? So yeah, I'll link all of that stuff. The game we're going to look at is Noravin versus Gamer Legion, where mezii had a great game here, 122 ADR on the CT side alone. This is combined with an OT, but at 24 and 10. So we'll go ahead and take a look at his nuke performance here in just a second. And he's on the resolution of simple 1280 by 960, very popular resolution amongst the pros. 1.7 sensitivity, right around twist sensitivity there. And yeah, that's about it. And so Woxic got announced as the opera for Cloud9. This might be something I'll do a demo on tomorrow, because I find this whole announcement cycle to be very interesting. Hopefully some of his contract details are released as well. And yeah, so I think we'll hop into the game. Before we do that, I just want to say, listen, there's a lot of heat on Henry he's feeling because the Cloud9 roster is getting so much attention. I mean, he's obviously a big brand. Cloud9 is an enormous brand. This is a colossal move, if you will. But it's so much better, of course, to be overhyped than it is to be undermarketed. And even if a team is going to be even if a team is going to be overhyped, that could still only be beneficial to the organization. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about. Listen, Cloud9 fans are a special breed. And I think no matter what happens, they're always going to get a lot of attention, good and bad. And there's going to be a lot for mezii and the rest of the roster to try to live up to. So here we are into the nuke match on the CT side. We can see the Steam profile is already updated with the Cloud9 logo. And we are rocking the dot with a bit of an outline as well. Pro tip, if you're going to stream, don't use a red crosshair, because the bitrate will just eat it right up. You won't be able to see this thing on a stream. I think we'll be able to see it fine in this YouTube video because I'm recording on like 40,000 bitrate or whatever. But on Twitch it gets locked up. So it's just a full anti-eco UMP here, patrolling the vents for mezii. He'll get eyes on one, rotate lower. He'll seem to be doing this, I think, a couple of times in the half. So it'll be interesting to watch him adjust to new situations, playing in front of the mini. He's going to hold on to the UMP. Everybody else is going to be keeping their guns, mostly SMGs. encyclopedic knowledge. Say it with me. Spaces, all caps, underlined, italics, and bold. Of grenades and the rotation into lower. It's always a brave move to be the first one down. If it is a quick change up into the upper hit, you're in a tough situation to try to help out your teams. Coming back up the vents is never fun, but it's equally as detrimental to be too slow down and not catch the T's before they're able to turn the corner on control room and decon. A huge part about this game is knowing when to, get to the choke point, because once the T's get too spread out in the area they want to be in, it can be too hard to retake from that position. So let's see. mezii just camping out on this angle. He's here to spot heaven. He's not here really to fight it, but... Okay, that's that's pretty good. Nice spray control on the UMP. Tons of money made off those 2 frags, and it'll probably result in a round here. So, kind of a good move there from mezii. He's actually just not waiting for the fight to come to him. If he had stood out there in front of Squeaky, the heaven guy would have absolutely spotted him as he was taking his time to go back and forth between Mini and heaven. Either would have taken the shot or, had the shot missed, but then been hard cleared by the 2 rifles coming into Mini. I think that's a really important thing that good players do, is just to make sure not to play too passively, and to also just trust your instincts. Hopefully without taking too many risks. And that kind of finer balance is something that's obviously hard to teach, right? You can ask players to play off their intuitions, but their intuitions may be bad. So now once again, the rotate into lower. It's well timed. And we're going to have this kind of, I think maybe a Xantares spot played here. Okay, combination, kind of a hybrid position to hope to clear out control. But they've definitely got the rotations in place. They are onto the scent of Noravind. I'm not sure what the rotations or the CTs look like upstairs, but I think they've got everything locked down for the meantime. So this looks like it's all good. I'll go ahead and speed this up. And Noravind just hoping they're like Shaq behind a light. They're like Shaq behind a light post right now. They're like, I hope they don't think we're here. But of course, Gamer Legion, they don't have an incentive to rotate up 4-2. And that's a wrap. Attack called, and we'll move out into another round. It's not full rifles, it is versus armor. And this time the instant push into secret. Of course, if someone goes up top silo, they can catch this. But if they don't, you can get here nice and quickly. But it's actually a wrap in through Mini. However, mezii's in a great spot because he knows that they didn't actually go into secret, so they're not going to anticipate someone flanking Mini. And in fact, they'll go ahead and plan for that. And somehow he gets 3 frags. Okay. Some great spray control. You can already see some promising signs, like talked about zero hesitation gameplay with Simple yesterday and how important that is. And it seems like he doesn't fall asleep at the wheel. Let's see how this angle works out for him. Not so hot. Might have incidentally got killed by the Opper clearing out Hell, but this Hell was smoked as well, so... I'm not sure if he was just hoping mezii would be in that spot, but he catches him off nice and easy. Down through lower, and we'll see if he plays just directly on the stairs. So far, we haven't seen Noravind really abuse secret all that often. Okay, and now that mezii knows that it's a ramp hit, he's going to be tucked nicely into control. With the window blown out, they're going to hard clear him. Nice by Noravind, and he does well to get 1. But it's probably not going to be enough. Oh, I say that. Actually, a decent retake. This time around, no guns to use. How's the eco play out? Okay, yeah, nice. Always frustrating to be on the receiving end of the AD swing. There's some intrinsic buff. There's some intrinsic benefits to using a MAC-10 or pistol over an AK. Really tough to balance. Okay, capitalizes on a whiff shot. Let's see what you can do with the big green. Oh, okay. Maybe not a primary. Maybe not quite a primary. Flash high and above. And I love to see a lot of variety in the approach to spots. This is a very powerful position on Nuke because, number one, you spot the cross. Number two, you have the mini drop. Number three, you can hear secret very well. And number four, you're at an advantage to anybody peeking you. I would say I think you have a very strong fight here. So, not a gimmick location by any means. Not exactly responsible for secret. And outside these days is not as often held like by rifles in these locations anymore. But well, the scope is heard. Let's see how he approaches it. All right, I think he knew he was opping that, but I guess he was just he knew it was coming. He's just like, I'm gonna make him miss. Maybe he knew the opper wasn't good, I suppose. Oh, Crowman's on this roster. I always thought Crowman should have stayed on phase. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Hindsight is 2020. Mez keeping on to the op, actually. Ooh, and gets out-opt. He's just a little bit too late into position. There's no supporting grenades on that one. Of course, you know, you risk getting yourself flashed, getting up top, but I was just hoping the op wouldn't come out that quickly. And certainly not that dry. Rare that you see kind of pure op duels these days, but made to the top of silo. Lineups for basically everything, which is good. We saw even when he smoked secret from Mini, he had that lined up. Even though you'd probably hit that, you know, most of the time, no problem. Drummond's back, giving up. Interesting. Mezii kind of like ran with that spray a little bit at the end. I don't think he was even crouching. I'm back to a very reliable spot here to hold on to things. So far, so good. 13 and 6 on the half. Okay. Wow, that was a hard one to follow. I guess he had to drop into Mini so he can give that info to his teammate. And that's a freebie. Playing off audio, of course. And once again, Mezii in a brand new position outside. This is what I mean. I think you got to have at minimum, you know, 3 ways to play your position. Outside, there's a lot more positions that you can play. You know, if you're an upstairs player, you might play backside on the floor like every single round and be okay. But shooting one person in the back, playing outside, is a lot easier than doing that in another kind of more static position indoors. But it's cool to see how many looks Mezii does have in that regard. And then we'll wrap up, moving to the last round of the half. So far, so good. Again, everything comes with an asterisk just because of the quality of competition. But it's not like the players he's playing against are bad by any means, right? It's more so, what does this mean when you jack it up like a tier or two? Okay, and then he just gets smoked inside a mini. So that is the end of the half. I mean, honestly, it was a really good half. I think that it's a really good half, right? But it's just it's versus a team that's not going to be nearly as good as the teams that he's moving up to play. When you're going to pick up a new player like this, like I played with Stewie for a short period of time before he went on to like play pro, and there's just stuff that you know as a teammate or somebody who's like watched them closely or whatever on their rise up, that you can see that this player has what it takes. I don't know if Mezii's that guy. He seems good. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's fair to have question marks. It's really about results. Henry knows that. Kassad knows he's got his work cut out for him. Alex knows what he's taking on. But another thing about these salaries is like, listen, Alex is getting like a close to 30K a month salary to be the IGL of this team. This is a huge undertaking for Cloud9. There is nobody that is going to co-sign a player that is that they don't believe really has promise in this organization right now. Like, they have their own salaries to worry about. Even if Alex and Mezii were best friends, right? They go way back. They go way back to the LAN Cafe days or something like that. They've got like the same parent, like they're brothers. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. You're not going to play with that player on your professional organization in the middle of the most important career decision of your life and take a risk on someone like Mezii that's unproven, unless you think that they have potential. And it's really just about how good that he'll get, and how good do you think he'll get and how quickly. So what I hope to see when these matches begin, first of all, it's going to be cool to see the rest of the lineup, first of all. But what's going to be cool to see is the development, how quickly he develops, what roles he's put in on CT side and as well as T side, but I'm mostly curious about CT side. And yeah, how much he steps up to the challenge. But I think it makes sense to have a moonshot player come onto your team. Listen, he might be a 10K player a month that he gets picked up. He gets picked up as a 10K player a month and ends up being worth 20K in a few months. And that's like the dream for Cloud9. And he may not. But he may not. But I think there's been a consistent theme of teams taking chances on more younger talent than there are teams who are willing to recycle and pay giant salaries for players who may be over the hill or in the second half of their careers are not trying as hard anymore. And I think there's a lot of value there. Listen, 10K is, for a 21-year-old, 10K a month is an amazing salary, and it should also be great for him to think that like his coworkers are getting way more than him on the exact same roster, but it also feels fair. I think it's really cool. So I already love how much we can talk about the salaries here, and I think this is a very interesting pickup. And I mostly just believe that Henry, as you know, one of the best source players himself, and Alex, who is a world-class IGL, you know, would make an informed decision here. I'm trusting them. We're trusting them that they're going to make a good decision, and we're mostly looking for what they see as well. It's really not our place as people who don't know as much about the player to go ahead and try to make too many assumptions about it. It's kind of just like we'll try to see what they see, and then we'll watch and see if it works out. But I find the whole thing very interesting. And yeah, maybe we'll do one of Woxie's last performances tomorrow. I don't know. Should we do a shout out to the comments here? Yes, the channel revived. We're back. Okay, we're definitely posting on this channel the whole time again. Oh my god, is that playing on speakers? Oh no, was the game on speakers? Oh, I'm so upset. Did I just record the whole thing on speakers? No, it was playing in my headphones. But would it be record? Okay, well, I don't know yet. We'll see. We will see. Yes. Keep them up. If you have anything disparaging, wonderful, whatever it is you want to say, throw it in here. You know what I mean? I'll take them all. Comments, whatever you got. Hit me with them. And we'll keep this going. We've got some slight changes. I added channel points for the 10-mans to be able to sponsor players to come into the Boxer Hub 10-mans, as well as channel points to do a number of other things that are maybe just a little bit more fun. And yeah, yesterday we had like basically 25 people in the Discord at the same time. And the 10-mans were popping off. So let's keep doing this. These are fun. Shout out to everybody in the Boxer community. We're killing it right now. We're killing it. Boxer stonks are through the roof. Okay, you want to join in? You can sub. You can sub, and then I'll get you invited. I'll get you invited to the Discord. We'll get you in the Face It Hub, and then we'll start queuing up. Make some friends playing Counter-Strike. Bring the community back together. Do our part in our little corner of the community to make this game as live as possible. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. See you tomorrow.